Good morning, my name is Sara Mazzei, and this is my PhD research that deals with the impact of identity building policies in the Mediterranean Arab countries' educative systems on the experience of Arab-speaking pupils who immigrate to Europe, focusing on their entire educational path and taking into consideration even parents and teachers, analyzing their educational context of origin in depth from a historical and cultural point of view. In intercultural education literature, the need to deepen the cultural universe of pupils with migratory backgrounds often came up, but responses to these appeals are rare. As postcolonial education points out, intercultural education often advocates coexistence between cultures without considering the real economic and power relations between countries of departure and those countries. Furthermore, it gives great theoretical importance to history, but hardly considers the history of the home countries of immigrant pupils, especially colonial history, as a determining element in the construction of identity and belonging in the educational processes. This research aimed to bridge this gap. The analysis of the educative systems of departure is carried out starting from a mixed categorization of Arab educative systems in dynamics or statics, depending on whether they taught to respect or cross-border, and following Nussbaum's multifactorial analysis of educative systems, for which humanities have a key role in the transmission of identity. Traditional values are addressed by looking at them through Habermasterization. The impact of colonialism and nationalism on identity in education is based on Anderson's reflection. The relationship between education and economy is addressed through the concepts developed by Bourdieu and Passeron in their work Reproduction in Education, Society and Culture. For them, education is not the mirror of the existing society. Instead, society delegates education to reproduce specific values and social relationships, which are those needed by the elites to reproduce themselves. The methodology used are the multifactorial analysis, of which historical reconstruction is a fundamental part. It focuses on those aspects of the diverse education systems that aim at the formation of pupils' identity, referring to Nussbaum and those factors she identified as central, like economy, politics, humanities' role and contents, role of foreign language and culture, religion, treatment of internal minorities and migrants, gender educative policies, as well as on the role that educative systems play in the social reproduction and the building of the nation. The results of the historical reconstruction and the multifactorial analysis are verified through field research in which the experiences of Arab-speaking pupils, parents, and teachers are gathered through semi-structured interviews with a narrative approach and analyzed starting from cause derived by the main factors of the multifactorial analysis, then modified deductively based on the contents of the interview. Here, it is possible to see the table that summarizes the sample of the interviews based on country of departure and arrival, sex and age, educative status, that are pupil, university student, young adult out of education, parents of pupil, and teacher in their own countries. Here, there is a synthesis of the educational path including travel countries, and the peculiarities such as ethnic belonging. For what concerns the educational path, it is represented in this image, with many Syrians who lost a year of school in Lebanon or Turkey before arriving in Italy, Germany or Sweden. Other Syrians moved directly to Europe. Some Syrians moved to Libya to come them to Italy, such as Morocco. In Morocco, the only member of the minority interviewed is an educator from sub-Saharan Africa. Instead of from Syria, there are interviews with Armenian, Kurdish, Circassian, and Palestinian and Arab Christians. More Moroccans arrived directly in Italy, such as Tunisia and Egyptian. Finally, there are two particular cases of pupils born and starting school in Italy and then returning to the countries of origin of their parents, in which they attend school but with the attitude of Italian pupils. The historical reconstruction and the multifactorial analysis show a similar trend in all the area considered and the significant exceptions. They allow us to identify Morocco and Syria's case studies since they are two extremes in the declination of Arabic and Islamic identities. The historical development of education could be divided into 5 educative periods: the traditional education of the Golden Age, the Ottoman period, the colonial period, the independence period, and the globalization period. Traditional education transmitted the religious identity and the belonging to multi-ethnic empires. Today, many people regret its equity concerning economy and ethnic differences, since it offers everyone the same education and identification with Islamic civilization without stifling particular identities. In contemporary times, in competition with traditional education, missionary Christian, and modern technical Ottoman education, some local powers instituted independent education systems, like Tunisia and Egypt, building the model of today's national supra-confessional education system. This process was interrupted by colonialist power, who made the educative system to form specialized servants with European values, contributing to the creation of nationalist elites. The legacy of colonial education could be seen in secularism and linguistic policy, and in the widespread private international schools attended by the elites. At the time of independence, states built the educative system to transmit the habitus of the Arab nationalist elite. Arabization characterized all Arab countries with strong nationalist narratives evident in humanities and social science, to produce and reproduce the Arab national identity. Saudi Arabia was the only Arab country never colonized and built an educational system based on its Wahhabi ideology, transmitting its narrative more inside religious matters than in humanities, combining technological development with tradition and religion. Indeed, two different approaches to the modernization of education developed: the secular and socialist based in Egypt, model at the time of independence, and one religious and capitalistic based in the Arabian Peninsula, becoming the new educational model at the time of globalization. The two models are yet to compete in determining pupils' identities today. Now, the Arabization drive softened in most countries, leading to the recognition of the rights of linguistic minorities. Morocco and Syria followed a path slightly different from this general trend. Morocco, at the time of the millennium, changed its strategy with the inclusion of personalities such as the Minister Tawfiq of the Tariqa Badshishia in the government. The Sufi influence means spreading a tolerant and open-minded religious interpretation, avoiding the dichotomy between secular education on the French model, of which some Tunisian and Algerian complained, and religious education on the Wahhabi model, and opting for an education anchored in religion and identity, but not close toward others. Moroccan education transmits Muslim and national identity and overcomes ethnic differences with loyalty to the king. Economic disparities are extreme, with a weak public education system with low educative results, and a developed private one that forms the elite. Despite this, public and private education's values are the same, and the interviewees appreciated and shared them. On the opposite side, there is the Syrian educative system, which, on the contrary, had excellent learning outcomes, but whose political regime negatively influences freedom of thought, opinion, and discussion in the classroom, and propagates humanities and aggressive Arab identity, close toward minorities and the rest of the world. Many talks about the ban on indigenous minority languages and histories, such as Kurds, and of the taboo about particular religious belonging diverse from Sunni Islam, transmitted as the true religion of Arabs together with Christianity. Starting from 2011, the civil war led to a fragmentation of the national education system with the creation of different systems, each aiming to build its own imagined community and transmit certain narratives and values to future generations. At a certain point, there was, at the same time, education provided by the government, by Daesh, by Arab rebels, and by the Kurdish autonomous organization. Each education represents different narrations and habitus coexisting in the same country. Non-governmental and non-Islamic groups such as the Arabs and the Kurds carried out the most significant pedagogical experiments that are little known and analyzed in the literature and will deserve to be explored in more depth. Looking at the educative experiences in Europe, the main cultural clashes are found in religion, history and geography, and social life. Regarding religion, as Habermas states, the clash is not between different faiths, as interviewees are used to attending school with Christian pupils and teachers, like in Syria, or they are taught in their home country respect towards Christianity, like in Morocco. Most Muslim pupils in Italy attended Catholic religious classes, developing an interesting relationship with the teacher that helped them understand the country's tradition and integrate without being asked to change their faith. This dialogue could be seen as a way to prevent radicalization, as it is based on mutual respect. Instead, the clash happens with the aggressive atheism of the environment, like in Berlin, of some philosophy or science teachers who do not give the same intellectual dignity to the religious and the atheist positions. In the humanities, there are no clashes about contents related to their countries of departure, since they are very little treated. The conflict is on colonialism. In the country studies as the most important historical events of contemporary times, and overall in Syria, where it is the cornerstone of the entire Syrian identity. Indeed, Syria, in its history and geography curricula, is depicted as a land colonized from the end of the Abbasid Empire in the 13th century until now, with the Israeli occupation of Palestine considered part of what they studied as Great Syria. The Palestinian issue remains an essential identitarian reference point in Europe. The interviewees feel they are not free to talk about it, since their opinion could quickly be labeled anti-Semitic. Syrians and Egyptians mostly share this. Instead, Moroccans are taught about Nazism and European interpretation of history in their country, so that they feel not the same confusion. Finally, a cultural clash in children's autonomy, parental style, friendship, and social life emerged only in Sweden and Germany. It is never reported in Italy, underlining a difference not between Arabs and European, or Christian and Muslim education and culture, but among a Mediterranean and the Nordic cultures and education. Thank you for your attention. You can find here the reference, the theoretical reference and the reference for the historical and cultural reconstruction and multifactorial analysis.